All right, we are at 1:01, and I believe we've just reached quorum with the folks I'm seeing logged in right now. So I'm going to say let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded, and also remind folks to try and avoid using the comment box for any general chatter, but please do use a C or a Q if you'd like to make a comment or have any questions during any part of the meeting. You do have the option if you'd like to have your camera on or off. I have mine off just because I've been having some technical issues and to preserve bandwidth, but please feel free to have yours on if you'd like. We'll go on to roll call. Eric Davis.
Here.
Tyler Denham. I see Tyler, and I know he is on mobile, so he might not have access to audio. Nicole Elman.
Hey, Kara, it's Justina. So Nicole said that she's in the waiting room, and I told her to log out and log back in, but she's trying.
Okay, thank you. Karen Flores.
I am here.
Sandy Flores.
I'm here.
Kara House, I am here. Devonna McLaughlin.
I am here.
Moses Malazzo.
I am here.
I know Adra is going to be absent today as he's traveling, and Ross. And I see Nicole just joined.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for my tardiness. Technical difficulties.
Welcome. I did just see Tyler's message in the chat. He's not able to hear any audio.
I am texting him to see if he can log back on again.
I logged back on. I'm able to hear you now. That fixed it.
Perfect. Thanks, Tyler. All right, one other reminder just for folks in general, if you can keep yourselves muted if you're not speaking, just to avoid any audio issues or delays. I'd also like to recognize the city staff that we have joining us today, including Vice Mayor Becky Daggett, our staff liaison. And we are on to agenda item 3, which is public comment. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject within their jurisdiction that is not scheduled before the commission on today. Due to open meeting laws, we're not able to discuss or act on items that are presented during this portion of the agenda. If you have an item that you would like to address that's on the agenda, we'll ask that you please wait for the call for public comment at the time that item is heard. Do we have any public comment today? I saw a hand raised from Victor Page.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My comment, first of all, I'm associated with Northern Arizona Interfaith Council and their sub-team of lack of housing options. And we've been working with the city of Flagstaff and their staff and the city council over the last 2 or 3 years in regards to closer to 5 years in regards to housing issues in Flagstaff. And I just want to make the comment, I saw last month's meeting just last night, the recording of it, and I wanted to commend the Housing Commission on a great job that they've done so far. It's light years ahead of the proposal that was put up for a bond issue in 2018. I know that there was a time issue before where this time you guys had like 2 years or something like that to work on it. And I just want to commend you. I think you've done a great job. And even with what little hiccups I heard in the meeting from last month, I think those can be resolved. So I just wanted to let you know to keep up the good work and that you are well appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Page. Were there any other public comments? Leah, did we receive any by email?
We did not, Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on then to item 4, approval of minutes. For the consideration and approval of minutes of the Housing Commission meeting on November 29th, I will entertain a motion if someone has one.
This is Nicole. I so move.
This is Sandy. I'll second.
Thank you. So that was moved by Nicole, seconded by Sandy. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries and the minutes are approved. Thank you all. We're now down to item 5, general business. These will be presented by Leah Bloom. Leah?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give a quick update in regards to general business. So the first item is that Flagstaff City Council is scheduled to appoint a new housing commissioner. It is in the real estate category and will be replacing Commissioner Laughlin because she moved out of city limits. So that is February 1, if you want to attend that meeting. We are also still searching for a builder and a developer for those 2 required seats. And I have spoken to a few people that have showed interest. So hopefully those applications will come down, but I just encourage you guys to reach out to anybody you know in the community. Item B is in regards to a joint meeting with the Housing Commission and the Sustainability Commission in the future. We are hoping to get the commissions together in March. It would be the 4th Thursday, March 24th at 4:30. And I would love to hand this back to our Madam Chair to see if she can get kind of a gauge on if we would be able to meet quorum on March 24th virtually at 4:30 to 5:30.
Thank you, Leah. I'd like to open that question up to the commission. So if you have availability, I'd love for you to share that. If you do not, then please also let us know. Devonna, I see your hand.
I just wonder, Leah, if the bond committee will still be meeting in March, because that would be a conflict.
I'm going to hand that to Sarah and Justina. I can't answer that question.
I'll take it. Hi, everybody. Sarah Dar, Housing Director. Devonna, that's why we did not put the meeting in February. Right now, the intent of the Citizens Bond Committee is to be done with those discussions by that point in time in March. If that is not the case, then we will reschedule for a later date. But that is the exact reason we skipped the February meeting.
Thanks.
Nicole, I see your comment.
I'm available that day.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep stalling a little bit in case folks are checking their calendars. I know I have the same concern as Devonna in terms of availability with the bond committee. But as long as we are not meeting at that same time, then I would be available. Tyler, I see your hand was up.
Yes, I'm available at that time.
Thank you.
This is Eric. I'm available.
Can you repeat the day and time?
Yes, it was the 24th. And
Yes.
Leah, can you repeat the time? I think I recorded that wrong, actually.
It is the 24th of March at 4:30 to 5:30, and it would be a virtual joint meeting.
This is Karen Flores. I'm available.
Thank you.
This is Moses. I am as well.
This is Devonna. I'd be available.
This is Sandy. I'm also available.
Perfect. I think that's all of us. So we definitely would be at a quorum. If I missed anyone, I apologize. But we do have a quorum available. So let's go ahead and get that scheduled, Leah.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. With that, then we will move on to the meat of our meeting, which is item 6, which will start with the consideration and approval of Flagstaff's 10-year housing plan. I will turn that over to Leah.
Great. Thank you so much.
You actually get me to start with.
Yeah, I was going to hand it to Sarah. And I also wanted to say, I was reading in the chat that we are having some difficulty with people not able to enter into the meeting and the waiting room's not showing. So just encourage them to log back off and back on. Thank you, Sarah. And I'll hand it to you.
Leah, are you screen sharing for the presentation?
I sure am.
Thank you. It's not popping up on my screens. Thank you. Housing Commission. I can't tell you how excited we are to be here today with this document in front of you. I have the pleasure of being the one who gets to introduce it and remind you of what's happened since we were here last when you approved the draft. We, of course, took it to City Council and they approved the draft and started the public comment period. And we weren't quite sure what to expect with the public comment period. We had a huge response of public comment, which is always welcome. We had hundreds of comments. And we told both you and City Council that we would take the time necessary to make sure that we addressed those public comments, which is why we are not back in front of you until now, is because the volume of those was large. And those comments were sorted, they were categorized, they were considered, they were researched, and they impacted the final document that Leah is going to present to you in a few minutes. In addition to changes resulting from the input from the Commission, Council, and public at large, we also, as staff, made technical and conforming changes along the way. However, today, Leah will cover all substantial changes made in the plan since it was last presented to you. By technical and conforming, they were language changes where things may not have made sense, or an example that wasn't super clear that we tweaked a little bit. It was not anything substantial. We'll just go that way. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that we were only here today as part of a huge team effort. I am simply the one with the privilege of introducing this for discussion. We would not be here with the quality product that we have without literally hundreds of citizens of Flagstaff that contributed thoughts, ideas, and critiques, including you as the Housing Commission, City Council, and also city staff outside of housing. We did not lift this by ourselves. We've had input from numerous city departments and staff. Worthy mention on the top of that list comes from Long Range Planning and also the Attorney's Office, as Long Range helped us sort and categorize and respond to the numerous public comments, resulting in the public comment document that I believe is also attached to this packet. We are immensely grateful for the huge commitment of time and dedication of you, the Housing Commission, and our community at large that has brought us to this point. There is one thread that runs through this entire project, and I'm going to pass next to Justina to let her talk for a few seconds about that, and then we'll move on to Leah for presentation of the final plan. Thank you so much, especially for your time and attention. I'm proud of the product that we're here to share with you today.
Thanks, Sarah. For those who don't know me, I'm Justina Costa. I'm the Assistant Housing Director here at the city. And as Sarah mentioned, the creation of this plan has been a massive community effort. However, there is one person who deserves incredibly special recognition and a gigantic thank you, and that's Leah Bloom, our housing project manager. It's because of Leah's exceptional project management, her problem solving and dedication that this plan is before you today in its final form. Thank you, Leah, so much for your leadership, your professionalism, and especially for your love of affordable housing. This plan will help guide our work program for the next 10 years, and it will not collect dust on a shelf. So we just are so incredibly grateful to you and all of the work that you've done to help herd the cats and get this thing across the finish line. Thank you.
I love my housing team. I just have to say that. I might not put it on camera quite yet, getting like a little flustered, teary-eyed out of excitement and just the support. So thank you guys so much. I am extremely excited that the housing team is presenting to you the final 10-year housing plan. Today, we're quickly going to review Flagstaff's housing emergency. We're going to discuss the public participation that took place from the beginning to the completion of the final plan. And we're going to cover the results from the community forum survey regarding the draft plan. We will discuss what updates were incorporated into the plan. And then lastly, the presentation will end with next steps for plan implementation and reporting. And we will be asking you, commissioners, for your consideration of approval for the final 10-year housing plan. Citizen petition came before council to declare a housing emergency just over a year ago. The declaration called for a single, comprehensive community document that summarizes the city's immediate and long-term needs and strategies to improving housing affordability. The plan provides a path forward for the next 10 years and provides solutions to addressing Flagstaff's housing emergency through 4 policy categories, and those are create, connect, preserve, and protect. The community will learn from the plan how affordable housing is interconnected to healthcare, equity in neighborhoods, zoning and land use, sustainability, and economic opportunity. Now, I'm going to go over data with you. A lot of it you have seen, just bear with me. I think this is important for us to tie the whole plan together. In our recent housing survey, 93% of the respondents strongly agreed that owning a home is important to them. Now, while 85% of Flagstaff residents strongly supported the development of affordable housing in this survey, the support for affordable housing dropped 20% when the question was localized to the respondent's neighborhood. We have work to do in educating the community on what affordable housing is, what it looks like, who it serves, and how it keeps communities together. The housing plan does exactly that. The current housing emergency in Flagstaff has deep roots. There's no single solution to address the housing emergency, but rather multiple strategies that will work together in providing residents with additional housing stability. The housing survey illustrated that the housing emergency is causing residents to leave our community. A little over 58% of Flagstaff residents stated that they were either nearly certain to somewhat likely going to relocate due to the housing costs in Flagstaff. The question we must ask ourselves is, what would Flagstaff become if 58% of our community and our population moved away? The intent of this plan is to help individuals and families achieve housing affordability for those who want to continue to call Flagstaff their home. The Housing Commission and the community got to work in creating a framework for action. The Commission approved the public participation plan and established 6 informal working groups. These working groups produced quantitative and qualitative data and created policy initiatives and strategies to address the housing emergency. The working groups, as you know, are the gap analysis, the neighborhood and equity, sustainability, land use, zoning, and housing and healthcare. Creating policy initiatives and strategies for this plan has involved extensive community outreach. The policy initiatives and strategies were then vetted internally with staff, through legal, and through the commission. Working groups included commissioners, city staff, and community stakeholders. estate community, such as realtors, lenders, architects, developers. Our Indigenous commissioners wanted to get involved. Friends of Flagstaff's Friends of Flagstaff's Future, the Chamber, ACONA, NAU, and organizations like Flagstaff Shelter Services, Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona, Catholic Charities, Coconino County, and League of Neighborhoods, just to name a few. The internal working groups started the momentum to address Flagstaff's housing emergency. These groups grew into more than 80 volunteers and 1,000 volunteer hours. The local housing survey that was distributed garnered close to 3,000 respondents. To date, the Housing Commission, as you know, has approved the draft plan. We have had 4 Housing Commission meetings and 3 council meetings. Once the draft was established, the plan entered into a 30-day public comment period where the community provided feedback on the plan's policy initiatives and strategies via Flagstaff's community forum. This is where we had 327 respondents participate in the community forum survey, which was an estimate of 16.4 hours of public comment. Now, you will see the 327 participants increase later in the slide. That's because additional community members made comment during public outreach that was not associated with the community forum survey. And by that, I mean commission meetings, council meetings, emails, stakeholder meetings. Housing staff also met with interested community groups, and this was Coconino County, ACONA, the Chamber, F Cubed, again, Northern Arizona Association of Realtors, and Coconino County Continuum of Care. Housing staff and current planners reviewed and incorporated the public comments and feedback into the final 10-year housing plan. Just as a refresher, the plan defines affordable housing, and data indicates that roughly 22,000 residents in Flagstaff are living housing cost burden. And since 2011, the median income, or the median sales price of a home, rather, rose by 119%, while the area median income levels only increased by 16%. Area median income is also defined in the plan. And together with Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona, we updated our local needs assessment by using 2019 census data. With this, we found that 65% of Flagstaff households are extremely low to moderate income in our community. So this is challenging in a market that's 13% higher, and the cost of living is 29% higher for the cost of housing compared to the national average. The plan shows what families can afford in both renting and owning. These findings confirmed that we need to increase housing subsidies and update development practices to create and preserve access to affordable housing for all. What is most interesting here is that we updated this data this past summer, and we were looking at home prices. When we were reviewing what Flagstaff families could afford, we felt like, oh, these prices are very difficult to find. And if you look at it today, if you're looking at a family of 4 living in the 100% AMI level, they can afford a Flagstaff home at $359,000. And that is extremely difficult to afford in today's market. From the housing survey, we know that 93% of the respondents strongly agreed that owning a home is important to them. So we asked community members what their barrier to home ownership is and what are they experiencing. Among respondents that were not already homeowners, 88% cited that the price of home is the barrier. Over half of non-homeowners cited paying too much in rent and not being able to save for down payment was a barrier. And 1 in 4 respondents cited qualifying for a mortgage was a barrier. The gap analysis working group looked at both market rate and housing needs and subsidized/affordable housing. And after applying both local and regional data, the groups determined that there is 7,976 market rate units and 12,072 households in need of affordable housing subsidy or affordable units. Now, again, it's important to say that these numbers don't alone mean that our community has over 20,000 households living without a place to call home. It means that 12,072 low-income households are living in less than ideal housing situations, such as paying too much in rent, living housing cost burden, doubling up, or unable to advance through the housing continuum. And while the remaining 7,976 market rate houses are needed to free up pressures on Flagstaff's housing stock and to catch up with population. So in a market without enough homes and without adequate subsidies, the people who lose out are Flagstaff's low-income residents. And again, that's 47% of our population. The plan also identifies the meaning or the term housing subsidy. The plan is written for residents of all income levels with an equity lens to ensure that each household gets what that household needs in order to advance through the housing continuum. Flagstaff's housing continuum is a graphic that represents a variety of housing types available for households with different levels of income. And it states that they may require different levels of subsidy in order to advance through the housing continuum. So for the purpose of the plan, in the next 10 years, we're going to be using the housing continuum as a method to communicate possible housing solutions for households at all income levels. Addressing the housing emergency will require adequate funding for programs such as eviction prevention, down payment assistance, employer-assisted housing. We will also require the creation and preservation of affordable housing, preservation of affordable rental and ownership opportunities. These bold steps must be accomplished in partnership across the housing sector, including all levels of government, nonprofit housing providers, private industries, and housing advocates from the community at large. The plan defines the housing emergency, provides one overarching goal supported by two fundamental elements that together will significantly impact housing attainability. The goal will be accomplished through the implementation of policy initiatives and strategies in this document. Implementation of policy initiatives and strategies will be accomplished by the City of Flagstaff through the budget process, collaboration with city staff, city council, private, public, and nonprofit partnerships. The single overarching goal of the plan is to reduce the current affordable housing need in our community by half over the next 10 years. Element 1 says it will impact at least 6,000 low to moderate income Flagstaff residents through a combination of unit creation and subsidy provision. Element 2 will create and preserve 7,976 housing units by 2031, with a minimum of 10% of them being affordable. This will increase the overall supply of market rate, workforce, and affordable housing occupied by local residents. So once the working groups in the community created the draft plan, housing shared it broadly with Flagstaff residents. This included public meetings, stakeholder meetings. We sent close to 7,000 emails out into the community, and we also sent shared through the community forum. We asked through the community forum for respondents to prioritize the policy initiatives and to state how favorable they were to each of the strategies in the plan. We also asked for comments and feedback about the missing strategies or overall comments about the plan. This is where 327 individuals prioritized the policies, and they showed how favorable they were to each strategy. They submitted over 400 written comments, which once again split by topic, ended up being over 600 comments. Current planners and housing staff coded and organized these comments. For a detailed response to the comments, we ask that you refer to the document titled Response to Public Comment. We will dive into a high-level overview of how the comments were addressed and the updates that were incorporated into the plan in the following slides. So minor changes were suggested for policy initiatives and strategies, and the team would like to think that this is because of the thorough public engagement and hard work that went into the creation of the policy initiatives and strategies up front. The changes that were incorporated were for clarification. Housing staff attempted to add new strategies that were noted by commenters, but after further review, we realized that the additions were redundant to what the working group had already created. There were 4 policy categories again, which are create, connect, preserve, and protect. And in these categories, there's 13 robust policy initiatives with 58 comprehensive strategies. Now, this is our framework for action. Community input has been integrated into the plan, and the order of the policy initiatives now reflects the prioritization feedback. So I'm not going to discuss the strategies today, but encourage everybody to refer to page 52 of the final 10-year housing plan. Other than the order of policy initiatives, no substantial changes were applied. There was little language there was some language that was added just for clarification. What you're looking at is policy initiative create. I'm going to just take a breather and let you guys read through these. The second category is connect, and we have 3 policy initiatives in this category. There are 2 policy initiatives in the category preserve. And 3 policy initiatives in the category protect. Again, strategies are on page 52 of the final plan. Okay, now on to the written comment. The 400 written comments came through public meetings, emails, stakeholder meetings, and the community forum survey. Once the comments were separated, they grew into 600 comments. And in order for staff to focus efforts on comments that can improve or achieve the scope of this plan, comments were marked actionable or non-actionable. We go into really deep detail about what actionable and non-actionable comments mean in the response to comment document. You can also refer to this document and see the percentages of actionable and non-actionable items by topic and subtopic. So both actionable and non-actionable comments are being shared with city staff in their specific working groups to that subject area as well. Comments determined to be actionable provided staff with insight of the goal and strategies, and also asked and requested more information or requested more specificity throughout the document. Non-actionable comments fell outside of the scope of work of the 10-year housing plan. And these were items such as comments related to other City of Flagstaff's projects or strategic documents, something that's more appropriate for regional planning and not housing, or would be illegal or unconstitutional if implemented. And we didn't want to put that into the plan, like stop all growth. Would facilitate or were factually inaccurate based on research of the Housing Commission and the project team, or were general support or opposition of the plan. Those are examples of non-actionable. Now, reviewing and organizing comments resulted in a final code book that contained 9 topics and 72 subtopics, and you can see the topics here. They range from development and growth, to economics, to people and housing programs, to housing sections involvement going forward, and just general plan comments, to name a few. For the actionable comments, changes to language were incorporated into the plan, and here are some examples of language changes. The plan's flexibility. While the 10-year housing plan must be a living document grounded with a clear scope of work but flexible in its approach, flexibility is necessary for changing market conditions and expanding knowledge base. The plan is a framework for action, providing conceptual strategies the city will undertake to address the community's housing emergency. For evaluation and reporting, we heard this from council and from the community that our reporting should be shared with our Planning and Zoning Commission. So the plan now states that the city staff will measure progress and key performance indicators and will report back to City Council, the Housing Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, and the community annually regarding policy initiatives and strategy accomplishments. During the last council meeting, we talked in detail about the intention of the plan. And the plan now states up front that the intention is to help individuals and families achieve housing affordability for those who want to continue to call Flagstaff their home. There's language that discusses multi-pronged approach. So the plan discusses how the current housing emergency has deep roots with no single cause, and that there's no single solution to addressing the housing emergency, but rather multiple strategies that we've incorporated into this document that will work together to provide residents with additional housing subsidy and stability. We also removed NIMBY. This term was offensive to some, and the city wants to say unified in housing affordability efforts. NIMBY, which is the acronym for Not in My Backyard, has been replaced with the term community opposition. There was substantial language additions to the section regarding NAU on-campus students. Additional language has been incorporated about students' financial housing situations and how they too can be living in housing cost burden situations. Housing data in this section now includes off-campus developments that target toward students and how these developments' occupancy rate nearly decreased campus student housing by 3,500. We took into consideration the larger developments such as the Standard, the Grove, the Uncommons, etc. We also took advantage of the opportunity to educate the community that the city of Flagstaff does not have authority in controlling construction on NAU campus, I should say, nor does the city have authority in student enrollment levels. We would be remiss if we did not say that NAU is in the top 1% nationally for on-campus housing per student. And in 2020, NAU housed 44% of its students on campus. There was also zoning and land use. This section now talks about how it has profound impact on housing locations and types, and how it can also impact cost and affordability. The language that was updated discusses percentages of land-specific uses in Flagstaff city limits, and the language has been updated regarding inclusionary zoning. Public commenters asked for more detail regarding Coconino County partnerships, legal barriers to adapting affordable housing policies, what housing first method looks like, and what different forms of housing looks like. These are entirely new sections in our document, and I'd like to go over those.
Leah,
oh yeah.
I apologize for interrupting. I saw Tyler's hand go up and I wanted to check, Tyler, if that was a question related to the prior slide or if it's one that we could hold for, we're almost at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was just going to say, I agree with the removal of the phrase NIMBY, even as someone who uses the phrase a lot and sort of agree with the sentiment behind it. It has become recently a very loaded term, and I think it was best to remove it in the way that you did.
Thanks so much for that, Tyler, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to drink some water and take some breaths. I appreciate that. So what we're going to talk about are the new sections added into the final plan. So the plan now states that reporting along with strategy implementation and program advancement will be shared with Coconino County. As you guys know, we met with Coconino County, presented the draft plan to them, and they showed interest in wanting to learn about what we are doing within city limits. And so that partnership continues. We now have a section discussing the legal barriers to adapting affordable housing policies in the state of Arizona. And as you know, there's quite a few of those. Based on the report, there was a new report that came out just recently. I believe it was November 21, and it was by Arizona ASU's Morrison Institute of Public Policy, and we use that as a tool throughout the document. The housing first model is now described, which I think is great for a community to understand. The plan also talks about forms of housing, and in this section, the community can read how in order for Flagstaff to obtain affordable housing, along the housing continuum, it will likely need to broaden housing development to include missing middle housing. And this is a term that's described as a range of multiple units or clustered housing types that are more compatible in scale with single family homes and neighborhoods. Missing middle not only affects affordability, but it can also lower our community carbon footprint by increasing the walkability in our neighborhoods. And example pictures of missing middle housing are included. I put 3 on the slide, but we have many more in the final document. The plan has a new section on racial disparities and housing justice. So while the plan focuses on income levels and housing situations for Flagstaff residents, comments were clear that we must consider racial and ethnic composition when discussing housing stability. So when looking at housing cost burden based on racial and ethnic composition, the section applies HUD data and terminology. And results show that different than national data in Flagstaff, Asian, non-Hispanic households are most likely to experience housing cost burden in Flagstaff. And then compared nationally, it does align that white, non-Hispanic households are least likely to experience housing cost burden in Flagstaff, both nationally and in Flagstaff. American Indians and Alaska Natives, again, HUD terminology, residents of Flagstaff are disproportionately experiencing homelessness, making up 10% of Flagstaff's population, but 38% of its homeless population. Residents who are Black or African American, non-Hispanic, or multiracial also are disproportionately experiencing homelessness in our community. And we applied HMIS data, which I know Sandy and Ross can talk in depth about, but it's a homeless management information system that takes local data in regards to individuals and families experiencing homelessness. The City of Flagstaff is committed to examining solutions that will eradicate the racial and ethnic disparities in housing outcomes and homelessness. Now, comments also displayed concern from the community about adding additional housing subsidies and how those could potentially go towards non-established residents or serve those choosing to move here. And there's a new section of the plan that discusses how the City of Flagstaff and the City of Flagstaff programs serves local residents through housing programs, such as incentivizing residency through public housing programs and requiring owner occupancy for all homebuyer programs. And there was a common theme from commenters that they would like to see more housing operated and managed by the City of Flagstaff. A new section has been incorporated called City of Flagstaff's Housing Authority and Possibilities. This section discusses HUD's rental assistance demonstration program and how the city intends to reposition and redevelop its public housing in order to increase the inventory of public and private affordable housing for renters and potentially homeowners throughout the community. City limits, I should say. Lastly, there is a section called Building Unity and Community, and this section is in response to the comment stating that pictures of affordable housing in our community are very important to include. This section also provides the linkage of other community strengths and characters, such as ensuring that affordable housing is within walking distance to public transportation, schools, medical facilities, and grocery stores, and ensuring that affordable housing developments incorporate the principle of good design. And we included examples of affordable housing that have great design in this section. So we're going to cover our immediate next steps. For the immediate next steps, once approved and adopted, housing staff will develop and evaluate processes for annual reporting and measurements of progress. We will report back to the Housing Commission in the coming months to discuss our future work programs from the 10-year housing plan if adopted. And finally, staff will continue to work through internal processes related to city budget and city operations to assist with housing affordability. Now, before I open it up to questions and hand it back to our chair, housing staff want to say that the momentum for addressing the housing emergency is strong, and it is happening now. The 10-year housing plan was created by the community and this commission. The plan has sparked the energy and the will to address Flagstaff's housing emergency. On behalf of the housing team, we want to thank each past and present commissioner. I could go by everybody's name, but I do want to thank our past chair and our current chair for the creation of the entry letter, which is a new section of this plan. I also want to thank Tyler for his data brain. He's put hundreds of hours into this document, but each of you have had a very important part, and we're so highly involved, and your commitment and dedication was absolutely incredible. We ask that you please keep the support of affordable housing lifted. City Council will be considering the adoption of this plan on February 15th during the council meeting. Public comment procedures can be found at the top of City Council's agendas. They announced that moving forward, we will be going virtual. Housing staff, along with internal city divisions, have expressed readiness to collaborate in the plan's policy, initiative, and strategies. And we're excited to move forward into the implementation of this plan once approved and adopted. So we're asking you, commissioners, for your consideration of approval for Flagstaff's 10-year housing plan. And we are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for listening to that presentation. I will hand it back to you, Chair.
Yes, I was muted. Sorry about that. So thank you so much for that amazing presentation, Leah. We greatly appreciate it, and all the work that you and the rest of the housing team and all of the commissioners, public commenters, and organizations have put into this document. I'd like to open up for any questions or comments from the commission. While I give some time in case anyone has any questions or comments they'd like to make, just remember to put a C or Q in the chat. I just wanted to also acknowledge that I had a chance to read through that full response to public comment document that you all put together, and that was an absolutely amazing parsing of all of that information and breakdown of that to explain the changes to the document now. So thank you for providing that as well.
Thank you, Chair. I know that Sarah Dector came onto this meeting late. She had conflicting meetings, but as a current planner and her, Jordan also, they put so much time into the efforts with me, and I just couldn't have done it without their knowledge and guidance. And I know that they're here to answer any questions if the commission has some, but thank you for the compliment. Really appreciate it.
I see there's a comment from Vice Mayor Daggett.
Thank you, Kara. And thank you, everyone. I echo all the kudos and the thanks that have gone around. This is a fantastic moment for the city, and I look forward to the presentation before council. And I know you all are already doing this, but I just encourage us all to continue building support for housing in Flagstaff and continuing to work to get the word out about the state of affordable housing in Flagstaff and how it is truly a crisis. And I look forward to working on that with you all moving forward. And I think that that's one of the best parts of this commission is bringing together all of your expertise to help the community to better understand the real problem that we're facing. So thank you all.
And I see a comment from Nicole.
Thanks, Kara. I do want to, like Vice Mayor Daggett said, echo all of the praise and job well done and pats on the back and all that good stuff for everybody whose hard work went into this, including ours. And it has been an honor and a privilege to be a part of this with everybody. And if the time is proper, I would like to make a motion that we approve the 10-year housing plan as written and displayed for us today.
This is Tyler Denham. I'd like to second that.
Before we move that forward, actually, I wanted to verify if we had any public comment on this section. All right, not hearing any, then we have a motion from Commissioner Ellman and a second from Vice Chair Denham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you all. And thank you again to the housing staff. I just wanted to make a brief comment that, you know, there was a comment earlier praising the work of this commission in terms of the bond work that we've done. But I also feel that I would be remiss not to acknowledge both the leadership of prior Chair Ellman and the ongoing support, labors, and partnership of our housing section staff. This has just been an amazing process to be part of. I know the countless hours and labors that went into putting this document together. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for your leadership and your initiative in getting this done. I'm also stalling a second because I lost my agenda. Here we go. So with that, we are down to item 7, which is informational items to and from commission members, staff, and future agenda item requests. Up first, we have the update from Housing Authority Commission member Moses.
Hi, this is Moses. We did not have a meeting this month for lack of agenda items, and so there's no update from the Housing Authority unless Sarah Dar has something that I am completely forgetting.
You're not forgetting, but I would like to take the opportunity to let people know that we are seeking a Housing Authority board member that is a program participant in either public housing or Section 8. Our board member who's a participant in Section 8 has decided not to renew her membership, and we are seeking someone. This is often a hard position to fill because quite often, as we know, our low-income folks are working every day, and it's hard to find the time to prioritize coming to a meeting when you're thinking about the food you're putting on your table. So I like to make this call wide because you never know who knows someone who lives in public housing or is assisted by a Section 8 or other type of HUD voucher. So if you know someone, I'd be happy to sit down and chat with them if you want to put us in touch. Thank you so much for the chance to make that plug.
Sarah, with that, is there a flyer or an ad or anything like that that's been created for that posting that could be shared?
We, not this time, but we have past ones. This is a fairly recent development and I don't have a flyer yet, but we'd be happy to update some of the past ones and get them out to you if that's something you would like to share in your circles.
be great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do so. Thank you.
All right, with that, we are to item B, update from housing commissioners and other informational items. Do any commissioners have any updates that they'd like to share? Vice Mayor Daggett?
Yeah, is a council liaison allowed to say something during this part?
I think we can allow it.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to introduce my intern, Morgan Ashley, who is on this meeting. Morgan is an NAU student. Her major is math and her minor is community engagement. And she has a special interest in affordable housing. And I'm just thrilled to have her working with me and thrilled to have a minor at NAU in community engagement, and thrilled to have students also interested in affordable housing. So welcome, Morgan.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you both and welcome to you, Morgan. So we'll move on to updates from Devon. I'm sorry, I just saw you light up. Did you have a, yes, I see you have a question.
Sorry, I was trying to do both at the same time, like the unmute and the cue, and I was having momentary difficulty, so I apologize. I had a question for staff. I was wondering if there is an update in the staff report or if someone could answer on what's happening with ARPA funds that went to the city that I know council designated towards housing efforts. So I thought I'd throw that out there.
Hi, this is Christine. So great question. I'll just kind of give you guys an update on all of our funding sources. We just released our NOFA for the Community Development Block Grant. It's an application that folks are required to submit by February 22nd. We'll be ranking those applications after that and then going to council with our recommendations and request for direction on funding in April. Those allocations are due to HUD May 15th. Along with that NOFA, we've decided to put the ARPA funds that were allocated to congregate care services and tie it into that NOFA, so it's just one application and folks are able to request either funding source. It's only for congregate care funds. The allocation amount to that category was $450,000. We have $350,000 remaining. I'm sorry, it's $400,000 and we have $300,000 remaining. We did allocate some of those funds out on an emergency basis. We may end up allocating additional funds out on an emergency basis, but as of now, there are $300,000 available through the NOFA process. The next pot of funds that council allocated to was the housing assistance funding. That was $1.9 million. We will be releasing a NOFA application. Dates are not finalized, but sometime in April with a due date in mid-May and then ranking thereafter. The last pot of funding is that housing will be managing is the victim services funds. Allocated to that was $350,000 and that NOFA will come out sometime in the fall, probably late fall. So yeah, any other questions about that, let me know.
All right, we are down to updates from housing staff.
You get me again. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, it still says I'm muted on my machine, so we're checking. Hi, folks. I always love to share updates with the commission because it shows all the work that's going on behind the scenes. When you get to see finished working products, you also know we're working on some other pieces behind. I wanted to do a quick update on the incentive policy for affordable housing and the update process that document has been going through. This is the project that Jen Michelson has presented to you in the past. And the code administrator in community development, Dan Seimer, who's also presented to you, left the city for another position in another community at the end of December. And so we've been strategizing how we best can keep this project moving. How does it fit within workloads where now there is no person writing code, and have settled on a strategy in partnership with the CD director this week and the planning director. We have a new planning director. You'll love her. To wrap the IPA update, Incentive Policy for Affordable Housing, IPA update, into one of the very first work items that will come out of the 10-year plan if council approves it, which was one of the ones that received overwhelming community prioritization, which is to examine and update relevant codes and policies and fees of the city of Flagstaff. That work would be done by a consultant. Best that analysis is done by a third party. And it makes sense that the IPA runs right alongside that and can be part of that scope of work for the consultant as well. We're putting together a request for funding to go to City Council to not only complete the work that we've done on the incentive policy update, but also to tackle this first big item that is contained in the recommendations for the 10-year housing plan. So that's our update on the incentive policy. I have two more items I wanted to touch on with you quickly. One is a quick update on RAD, or the Rental Assistance Demonstration project we've talked about before, which is redevelopment of our public housing properties where no one will lose their home and everyone has the right of return. And we are in negotiations of a pre-development agreement with a selected development partner. We're not a developer. We are a housing administrator. We manage housing. We do it well, but we're not developers. So we're partnering with development firm. If you go way back in your mind, and we talked about an RSOQ to identify that partner, and there was a member of this commission on that evaluation committee. We've selected that partner and are negotiating our first agreement with them to come to council, which will formally get the process moving. But things are moving pre-work to that type of talking with my hands, but they're off camera. So I could talk with my hands up here. Pre-work that we're working on. So we have that moving. We also have the Citizens Bond Committee moving. And so that group appointed by the city manager has been meeting every Thursday from 4 to 5. And I believe they have determined that that's not enough time. And perhaps we'll be moving to an hour-and-a-half meeting. It seems like we barely get started with presentations and they're over in a time span of an hour. There are a few members of this body, of the Housing Commission, appointed to the Citizens Bond Committee. I think there's only two, Kara and Devonna. So our chair, Kara House, and also Devonna McLaughlin. And so if I've missed you and you're on there, I'm sorry. That's just simply a brain cramp on my part. And so in 2 hours, we'll go into that meeting again. Housing was slated to present the housing bond recommendations created by you at the first 2 meetings in February. That is not the pace that the Citizens Bond Committee has been able to move at. And we will be later in February, although at this point in time, I'm not certain of the dates. When we know the dates, we will share them with you and you'll be able to attend that, as that is also a public meeting. And so right now, other items are being presented. We've heard from public safety. Right now, we're hearing from water services and some of the needs in that area that could be eligible for bond funding. Those were my 3 main updates. That doesn't mean that I haven't missed something that you have questions about. So if you have questions, either I'll be happy to answer them or punt to another staff member and have them do it.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions for her?
Awesome.
Oh, I see a question from Moses.
Spoke too soon.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
Don't
my question is simply, is there any way to gauge what the current feeling from the bond committee is regarding the housing bond request? So,
No.
okay, okay,
We have not talked to them about housing at all.
okay. I
The
wasn't
bond
sure.
committee they got their feet underneath them at the beginning of January, and we've been moving through presentations. I can tell you that the questions that are being asked are excellent questions. What they've heard so far, the bulk of it is what you heard as a commission before creating your recommendations is what is bonding? What is the city's financial capacity? What is the city's financial situation? How does this all work together? So they had those presentations before jumping into presentations regarding bond matters. So if I have a feeling for it in the future, I'll most definitely share it with you, but we have yet to attack the concept of housing bond recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions or comments, thanks again, Sarah. We are at the end of our meeting. So we will adjourn at 2:06. Thanks to everyone who made it out today, and thanks for the work that we got done today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Kara.
everyone.
Thanks. Great job, guys.
Thank you.